Okay, we'll start with roll call then. Basting. Bush.
Here.
Dolphin.
Yes.
Hay. Here. Kinch.
Here.
Stevenson. Steffes.
All right, we are here to certify the levy. Annually, the school district must certify the levy sometime after October 15th, but before October 31st. The reason the levy is delayed until that point is we need to know what the equalized value for our school district is, and that's handed down to us by the state. And then from there, they can calculate our aid payment, and then from there, we can calculate the levy. The equalized property value for our school this year is $321,869,233. Roughly, that means or translates to a 1.67% increase over last year's equalized value, property value for our school district. So our property values have gone up. How that impacts the levy, our maximum allowable tax levy, because we are under a state imposed revenue cap, ferrets out what we estimated was going to be $4,452,000 in state aid. The actual aid that we received this year was less than that. It was $4,397,000. So using that number, we can then figure out what our shared costs are, as schools are funded by two sources of revenue, the state aid and our local property taxes. So staying within the revenue limit, our actual aid for this year being down caused our budget levy, which we had at $3,887,000, to actually go up to $4,001,299. So my recommendation is that the board approve an estimated, I'm sorry, not an estimate, the actual levy for 2016-17 to be certified at $4,001,299. That represents a 1.44% increase over last year's levy. But taking into note that even though our levy went up because our property value went up, our actual mill rate will go down from $12.46 per $1,000 of property value to $12.43 per $1,000 of property value. So again, our property value is going up, levy went up, but our overall mill rate will drop 3 cents per $1,000 of property value.
When we do our forecasts, do we assume, what do we assume with regard to state aid?
We make some assumptions. Last year's assumptions, we could calculate pretty carefully because we knew that it was second year of a biennial budget, so we knew what was going to happen. And then what we couldn't calculate was what our property values would do. And I think we had a slight increase. I can look back at our assumptions, but a slight increase of about 1%. We didn't go very crazy there. We just didn't feel like it was totally coming back. So the board will have the opportunity to reset those assumptions, but to your question, the next biennial cycle gives us a lot of uncertainty about, will there be a revenue limit increase? Will it be an actual over the top of the levy? Will they raise the cap? Or will they do an increase in aid underneath the cap? Really hard to determine that. And then what will our property values do? I think this gives us an indicator that the values are coming up slightly. So I think we could estimate maybe a little bit more generously for another increase in property value. But we also have a general election, and we're not sure what the economy will do, and it's no one has a crystal ball. So that's kind of where we're at.
The property jumped a lot last year.
Yeah, it's starting to return. It's been flat or decreasing almost throughout my tenure. So it's nice to see the property values coming back around in Mineral Point.
Went up last year, and two.
Yeah.
It was like 79 last year.
Is there a motion to approve?
I will make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any more discussion? Hearing none?
Understand elementary.
Roll call.
Basting.
Yes.
Bush.
Yes.
Dolphin.
Yes.
Hay.
Yes.
Kinch.
Yes.
Stevenson.
Yes.
Okay. The other item that's for you before action is approval of a plasma cutter. Mike Robinson had budgeted for a plasma cutter last year in the budgeting process. The quotes that came in were more than he budgeted because the pricing went up from last year to this year, but he does have his FFA fundraising dollars will cover the overage that was allowed in his budget. Plasma cutter is essentially allows kids to put a CAD drawing into the computer, and then the cutter will actually cut the metal out and make the different pieces and parts. It's certainly in tune with where today's technology sector is going. I think it's a good real application and skills for kids to have this in the classroom. I would recommend approval. In your board packet are 3 quotes that Mike has secured to show that he is using the quote with best pricing, which is $13,764.28.
Is there a motion approved?
I'd like to discuss this just a little bit. I don't think that we have enough use for one of these. Are they going to get credit that'll transfer to vocational school out of this, or is this just a toy we're going to make things for
This is,
fun of it, or what are we doing here?
I don't know if this is a course that has transcripted credit with Southwest Technical College, but I do know it's a course that would give you credit toward graduation.
Well, I think got to contact workforce development. They've got 2 trailers and they're going to put another one together up in the Fox Valley for that. And it goes from school to school and they get credit for towards a technical school degree. So when they go to tech school, they don't have to take quite so many courses, and cuts their tuition down. I don't think there's enough use here for one of these. It's kind of overkill. I checked with machine shops around and there's only one in the area that the manufacturing facilities have it, but if it's not going to go for credit there, I don't think it's going to be put to its best use.
This is going to be used, incorporated into the curriculum of what he's teaching. I mean, the
That's
reference
correct.
was made, the question was, is this being used as a toy? This is not being used as a toy, correct?
Correct. It'll be a learning tool to teach kids a trade or a skill. It's infusing, obviously, the technology with the cutter. So kids will have to be savvy on how to use computers to basically talk to the cutter and make the designs, the shapes, the things that they're going to fabricate.
And there's a benefit to having it on site every day versus something that's in a mobile unit that might come around. Right?
Correct. I don't recall a plasma cutter ever coming around. There's just so few mobile labs like that in this area that I've never seen like a 3D printer or a plasma cutter coming around. So that's where a lot of the grants that have been recently coming out has tried to infuse a lot of these things into schools to add these pieces of equipment. We wrote one last year. We did not receive the grant. We'll write one again next year. But this would be a nice addition to some of the other things that we have on site.
The Fab Lab grants?
Correct, yep.
So this is part of a trend to have Fab Labs, fabrication labs on the sites of the schools.
Yes, yeah.
What's the total price on the 21 or the 13?
The
13.
What's the 21 over here?
That's a second quote.
That was the second quote. This kind of includes everything that's listed here.
Correct.
And doesn't it need to also be coordinated with your computers? I mean, they're doing computer design, and then this machine that plasma cuts the design. So if there was something that came around, it wouldn't necessarily be hooked up to the computers that the kids are used to working on at our school.
Correct.
What are they going to do with the things they make?
What are they going to do with them?
Right.
I'm not quite sure. I didn't get into what Mark Robinson would actually create using that. We didn't get into that level of detail. He did show me the video link that showed some of the things that other schools or other things that could be cut with a plasma cutter. But I couldn't speak directly to his curriculum and what he would use it for specifically.
Is it something that Skills USA and FFA and others will use as, could,
I would imagine
using
so.
as projects and,
It's a pretty nice item for the amount of time it's going to sit. That's the only thing.
Yeah, that's my problem. I don't think the utilization's there. Like if we would go together with 2 or 3 schools, they move it back and forth, and you're not going to be cutting things all year long. It's
Yeah, I can't speak to how mobile this unit is, if it's something that can be moved around. It's obviously a 4-foot by 4-foot piece of equipment. Mike is on site if you want me to include him. I didn't think it was necessary for me to be part of this meeting, but there are some questions that Mike could answer specifically. I'd be happy to ask him to step in if you'd like.
So it's a large chunk of his budget with FFA money.
Correct.
Right.
What's the breakdown of FFA money versus what's?
I don't know, I would look, and I can look. I thought it was 10 and 3,000. Yeah, I thought he had a $10,000 budget item there, but I looked. Just taking a bit to pull up Skyward.
It might be something for him to think about, offering to local other school districts as a way for him to make some more money for his department. If there is a possibility to kind of move around. That way you can decide when it moves and when it doesn't move.
You mean take it to their school or have it here?
Yeah, have him price it out
It's
to
not-
you, for example, and charge, 500 or 1,000, depending on how long you take
Most
it.
of them aren't movable easy.
Would you
Well,
like-
Appleton Workforce Development, they're in enclosed trailers and
Yeah, those
they're all top, state-of-the-art welding, and they go to one school for a period, and then they go to another one. And the Workforce Development did the first one, they paid for that themselves, and then some of the industries up there threw money in on the second one, and now they're building one, a CNC unit, so, which would, I assume is going to include something like this, but there's a shortage of welders, and more so than there is people cutting the parts.
My only concern was that one was 13,000 and the next one was right 21, and I questioned why it was such a big difference, but.
Well, I don't know, I know Lincoln Brand, and, they're pretty well known, pretty widespread. I don't know anything about the plasma cam or whatever, I guess that's what it is. Can't see the first couple letters.
Closer.
Would you like me to invite Mike to join us?
Does anyone feel that that's necessary, or?
If he's budgeted this large item, I would assume he's thought about how often it's going to be used, how he can maximize the use out of it. I trust that he's done his homework there. I'm okay, I'm making a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
There'll be a lot of times it's used for fun more than anything else. You're just making things that probably gonna toss.
But it's a learning experience.
It's a learning, yes.
Yeah, but if it's not gonna carry through for credit, or, it's just, I think here what you need to do.
It's for a credit class.
He's doing it for.
Well, right, but that's, whether they have that or not, he's still gonna get credit for their ag class, but I don't, like to do things that we're just gonna maybe use a little bit, and then it sits there, and if you're not really going to, what we need to do in that area is to be able to have people take the course and decide if that's something they're interested in and doing it, rather more than, unless we're going to go to the point where we do actually instruct them where they get credit for advanced credits for after high school.
I think trusting the teacher who teaches these classes that are very popular classes, and this is something that it seems like a trend with other schools are developing fab labs, and it's.
How many other schools in this area have them?
I can't speak to that. I don't know. There's schools that have
I
different.
don't have enough information. I know some of their board meetings today, I would have contacted those people.
There's more fab labs, I believe, in the other side of the state. I think our area of the state is a little deficient in having fab labs when you compare it to like Milwaukee suburbs and some of the areas around Madison.
That's true, because there's no use for them out here.
Well, I think that, if kids in other high schools in the state are having the benefit of having this type of equipment, then there's no reason that we shouldn't have it. If he can fit it in his budget, and he's making up for the deficit with fundraising, and he's decided that this is a priority, then I think we should give it to him.
Let's vote. I said sitting here haggling all day.
Okay,
Stephen,
It's
roll call.
a discussion anyway.
is there any more discussion?
Could have, why did that,
No, I'm good. I just,
why did that be this meeting, could it be next month's meeting?
it can be on any agenda. I knew that we were meeting this morning and we had an opportunity, so I just put it on this morning's agenda.
Well, I'm getting to the point where the lack of preparation on your behalf does not constitute an emergency on mine.
I'm sorry, what?
Lack of preparation on the administration's part does not necessarily constitute an emergency on mine.
The
I mean,
one-
this is gonna come in a regular meeting, why do we have to do it this morning? So
This is coming in now because of the $5,000.
No, he's saying why today instead of a different day. I know the levy had to come.
Doesn't mean lack of preparation.
The levy had to come today.
the levy, that's fine, but that could have been done to let some other time too. I mean, we didn't have all these meetings before when I was on the board. We had our meeting once a month and that was it, because everything was in that. We need to work a little more on our itinerary.
Two things. In defense, I think it shows preparation by being able to bring something forward earlier rather than waiting. I was prepared for this today. It would allow us to get the purchase made quicker, and so I just think I was prepared enough to get it on your agenda a week in advance for your consideration. If you don't want to consider it today, that's your prerogative, but it is a motion and a second, so I think there are some people that are interested. Secondly, there is a $10,000 budgeted item in Mike Robinson's capital expense account 551. That's not a budget item that he usually carries any dollars in, so this was specifically budgeted for this item, which will make a balance of the $3,764.28 coming out of his FFA fundraising account.
No. Will you have to buy more upgrades later?
No, all the software upgrades.
They're about $1,000, so. If you need one or two of them a year.
I've also told you several times I don't get your emails, you can fax it to me, so if Larry hadn't mentioned it to me and I would have got you brought it back at home, I wouldn't even know you had a meeting. So,
We actually discussed this at the last regular meeting. We set the agenda and we changed the time specifically so that all board members could attend at 7:30. So this is part of our
time
regular
ago for
agenda.
an old man to remember. You didn't say anything about plasma cutter, if I remember right correctly.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Roll call.
Stevenson,
Yes.
Basting,
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
Dolphin,
Abstain.
Hay,
Yes.
Kinch.
No.
Then we need a motion to adjourn.
The motion?
I'll move.
Stevenson,
Second.
Larry Delphin.